Good evening, everyone, and thank you to everyone who decided to join me tonight for a short version of the Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox show. Thank you again for giving a little bit of your time this evening. And like I said, I was last week. I told you guys we would do a unadvertised show this week. Last week, we're going to talk basically about what you guys want to talk about. But first of all, I want to say I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. Uh, Hope you enjoyed the time that you had with your family and loved ones, and what the season really means. So, just like I said again, I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. And thank you for joining. So, I want to say hello to some folks. I think there's a bunch of people joined. Go ahead and say hello so we can acknowledge you tonight for being on the show. And then let's get started about what you guys want to talk about. So let me start off with Charlotte Geller. Welcome to the show tonight. Clayton Orwig, thank you for joining me. Marie Withers, thanks for joining me. Cheryl Moulton, thanks for joining. Mary Boysworth, thanks for joining. Ben Garcia, thanks for sharing. Ben, I know if you're there, Cheryl's there. So hello, Ben and Cheryl. So as Mary says, it was a quick week. Catherine Lynn, happy holidays to everyone. Thank you, Catherine, for joining us tonight. Yeah, a very, very short week. I mean, when you got the holiday, it just all just sort of, whew, explodes on you. But yeah, John Bowers, present and accounted for. John likes to join the Speak Your Mind and it's your show nights because he takes advantage of that. And I'm glad that we have at least one person that takes advantage of that. Which actually, I think a lot of the people that were on here tonight took advantage of that last week and put a lot of your thoughts out there and your discussion points. And I want to thank you guys again for that last week. And hopefully you can duplicate that this week. So one thing I want to talk about is I told you guys last week that I'm beginning to see a lot of garbage in the county. So lo and behold, I'm driving down 138. I think the day before yesterday, and I'm coming down from the Publix, heading back up my way to where I live on East Fairview, and what do I see right there on the side of the road but a love seat that someone has abandoned in a wide area right on 138. So the carnage has begun. Some people. I mean, I saw furniture last week on a couple different uh, sides of the road in Rockdale too, and then but that was right on 138, a main thoroughway through the county in the south side here, and there was a love seat right in a wide area right there, just laying on the side of the road, as pretty as you please. But that unfortunately, I think that's what we got a lot to look forward to here in Rockdale County is the dispensing of garbage, large garbage items like that on the side of the road. Um, just my opinion, what I think. Charlotte, I have code enforcement on speed now. Uh, Holidays and them are always a bad time for dumping. Yes, Clayton, they are. But yeah, just so we know. And Charlotte, since you've got them on speed dial, you can let them know about that piece of garbage right there on 138 between the Publix and East Fairview Road, between 212 and East Fairview. If you're heading toward East Fairview, which it'll be on the right hand side of the road. Yep, that's what we got going on. So yeah, that's the way what I saw. This week on the side of the road. I had a good visit with family myself this past Christmas on Thursday. I made a dinner for everybody, and they came, they ate my food, and they left, and that's what happens, right? So, what do you guys got for me tonight? What kind of comments? What kind of statements? What do you have? Hey, just a reminder, I will be advertising this week, but Senator Emmanuel Jones will be on the Speak Your Mind show next Sunday. He'll be my first guest of 2026, as he will come on and talk to us about his running for the congressional seat currently held by David Scott, the 13th congressional district here in Georgia. Then also I plan on having some other candidates on this year. And one of the candidates I plan on having on is Blake Tillery, running for lieutenant governor. Because I want him to discuss his plan to zero out state taxes, and a very unique plan. They plan on zeroing out personal income tax, not business income tax, and they want to use the exemptions and tax credits that businesses get to do that, because I think, he said, like, we collect 18 billion in taxes a year, but we give 34 billion dollars in tax credits and to business. And he said, by eliminating half of those tax credits, you can eliminate personal income tax to individuals. So I do want to have him on here to discuss that concept and that idea on how we do that and not shift the tax burden onto property owners. So I do want to have him on there, have him explain that plan to us, and so we can have a better understanding of that. And then next week, of course, and we'll be advertising that we will have State Senator Emanuel Jones on, running for Congress in Rockdale County, in which we are part of the 13th congressional district. John, sounds like picking winners and losers. I hear you, John. It does sound like picking winners and losers, right? So, but that's what we got going on this coming year. A few candidates will definitely have coming on here. So I do know we've got 2 candidates that have filled out declarations of intent for county commissioner, plus our current commissioner, Doreen Williams, has stated she intends to run. So that's 3 candidates right there. I think we're going to at least have another 1 or 2 candidates that will run for that commission seat. So that ought to be interesting, right? We'll have, at least 5 going. John will campaign chest should swell, and in Charlotte, business lobbyists will be busy. Yep, business lobbyists will be busy, Charlotte. I agree. I agree and concur with that statement. But it is good to have those kind of guys when they're running and they have these bold ideas like that come on the show and talk about these plans, and because all these plans have consequences, and we want to know what the voters, what you, the average day Georgian, when they implement these things, how is it actually going to impact you in your daily life? And I think that's what we want politicians to tell us, is how is what you're doing going to impact me in my day-to-day life? And that's what people want to know. People, they just don't want to hear these sound bites, and they don't want to hear this, wishing a dream kind of thing. And you know what I mean? And, just these, little 5-6 word little catchphrases, because you and I are more than a catchphrase. We are Rockdale County. We are Georgia. We are America, right? We are more than a catchphrase, and we deserve more than a catchphrase, and we deserve to know what the benefit and what the fallout will be to us as the individual for these ideas that these politicians are going to float. Some of them will actually be enacted into law. And when they are, what does it mean to us on the ground? How will it impact us daily? Charlotte Gellert, I want details about how it will work for me. Yeah, and that's what I want, Charlotte. I want details. How is this intending to work? In theory, I like the theory that, where we have, we collect $16 billion in income tax, and we've got, 32, $34 billion in tax credits and incentives that we offer business. And just by eliminating half of those, we eliminate the personal income tax. But what are those credits and incentives that we'll be eliminating? And will we end up paying more for things by eliminating them? And does the offset help us? Does the offset help business? Who does this offset do? So Cheryl, says, lives up to your campaign promise for change. There's a start. Yeah, I agree. So John, I do want to put that comment up, and then that's where I think we all want to know the details, right? So I am very favorable of eliminating the personal income tax. I simply have little trust in the legislative policymakers. I agree the details are critical. And that's what, I think we all want to know, is what do these details, what are the details, and what they mean for each and every one of us. And I think that's where I want to try to take the show this year. When we get these individuals on the show, is what specifically do you, with the ideas that you have, and when you implement them, what tangible, what effect will it have on the average person, and how will they feel it in their home, in their pocketbook? How will they feel these changes? How will it impact their day-to-day life? So Charlotte said seniors generally don't have enough income to have a state tax liability. Well, Charlotte, I 100% agree with that, but we also got to realize everything can't be. I am a big advocate of senior citizens, but everything can't be for senior citizens, right? So we do have to look at, we have to look at the whole agenda, right? And we have to do everything that we can to do what for those people that are paying the majority of the bills, and that is people with incomes and paying income tax. So I believe seniors deserve their fair share of breaks on things, but also we have to look at the taxpayers who are paying those things. John, that's an interesting concept. I somewhat, I can't argue with that. Can't argue with it at all. And George put out there when the legislative session begins, I think Corliss did too. It begins on January the 12th this year. So, there's several legislative days up there. I plan on going to the legislature a bunch of times this year, and personally lobbying for things that I believe in and hope to see enacted. And that's what you have to do. You have to go and actually advocate for what you believe in, and the things that you'd like to see done. But like I said, I think it's how do these changes impact you as an individual? And when we get these guys on the show, let's ask them those questions, right? When we get Senator Tillery on the show, we'll ask Senator Tillery, what's your plan going to do for the average Georgian? What's it going to do for John Bowers, George Kilitek, Charlotte Gillard, John Logan, William Campbell? What does this plan do for these individuals? And that's where I think where we need to know. Now, when I did speak to the senator, he said he didn't think it would eliminate you filing an income tax. It's just you wouldn't owe any income tax. And I think if you're below certain incomes, there would be nothing withheld. But I still think the reason for it is, I think people in poverty, seniors who get discount, who gets credits and other people who get, individual credits, they're still going to get those credits. So that's, what I think we're going to, ask those questions when we get him on the show. And then next week with Senator Jones, you know, um, Lord, I think, we've had a bad streak in Rockdale County the last 20 years or so with the congressmen or congress people. Uh, I think, we had uh, Johnson, and we had before that McKinney, and then we had, and then we've got Scott. And, we've not had a competent, good congressman in Rockdale County in 30 years or so. So, I mean, that's what I would love to talk to, Senator Jones about is, heck, I think just being alive and breathing and present might be an improvement on what we've had here recently. John, I sort of said that in a different way. Joy's watching a game, so go watch your game, Joy. You can post some scores in here if you want to for the next few minutes. We're not going to be on much longer ourselves, but uh, John, I put that up there because it is hilarious, John. So John says we have a Congress people representing us. But that's interesting, right? Interesting. So, but I don't think we have had. I don't think we've really had representation here in the county for 30 years. And Charlotte said we got earmark money from Johnson, right? Just because you get a few dollars doesn't mean you got represent. Just because you got a few dollars doesn't mean you get representation. And that's what I think you've got to look at. Just because you get Vernon Jones, no, not Vernon Jones, Emanuel Jones, Clayton. Emanuel is the state senator from Henry County. Vernon Jones is running for Secretary of State. So, no. Wrong Jones. Senator Emanuel Jones of Henry County. Vernon Jones from DeKalb County, he is running for Secretary of State this year. And if any of you noticed my pronunciation of that, I was not saying I know how to say the name. And, I say Vernon Jones. So just we're all clear about that, right? So that Vernon Jones was our state house rep. He held the seat that Rhonda Taylor holds now at one time. Justin Kenny, welcome to the show. Late, but here. And that's all that counts, right? Late, but here. Justin, thanks for joining us. But no, guys, like I said, I think as we move forward this year, and I think we have people that are, and of course, Burt Jones, that he's running for governor. Yes. So we got some Joneses out there, right? The Jones brothers. But you got Burt Jones running for governor, Vernon Jones running for Secretary of State, and Emanuel Jones running for Congress in the 13th district, who is currently a state senator hailing from Henry County. So that is the breakdown of the Joneses. Avuka Russo, sorry, she's late, but welcome to the show, Miss Russo. But yeah, I think we're going to have an interesting little midterm this year with with all the state officials running. So this is how, no matter who wins what party, we're going to have a new governor. We're going to have a new lieutenant governor. We're going to have a new attorney general. We're going to have a new secretary of state. We're going to have a new, probably new everything, right? Because all these guys are running. We're going to have so many new state representatives throughout the state of Georgia because you got half a dozen senators running for lieutenant governor. You've got the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state running for governor. You've got congressmen running for the Senate. I mean, we're going to have a large turnover of elected officials in Georgia this year because they're all seeking additional another elected office. So we are going to have a lot. Don't let the Joneses get you down. Temptations, LOL. I like that, Cordless. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. But yeah, so it's like I said, it's going to be a very interesting year this year, and uh, are we moving forward? And if so, how does it impact Rockdale? All this impacts Rockdale. You've got the 13th congressional district, which is 100% represented by Rockdale County. You've got all these state officials changing office who make decisions every day who impact your life as a Georgian and a Rockdale County citizen. So it all is going to impact you as a citizen in Rockdale County. All of these elections, state elections, and the federal elections are going to impact Rockdale County citizens because it's going to impact where federal dollars are spent, where state dollars are spent. Having someone like Emmanuel Jones being elected Congress, I think would be a good thing for a Rockdale County. He's right next door, been a senator, covered this area for a while, has done a good job as a state senator. So we'll see what goes on with that. All these different folks have served a long time in their prospective roles in the state senate and other places, and they're trying to get new jobs. And that's all going to impact you as Georgians because they want to eliminate state income tax. They want to do different changes to property taxes now. Let me get a drink. So they've all talked about the need to reform property taxes in Georgia. So, and that happens at the state level, right? That happens under the Gold Dome. So all that will be impactful on Rockdale County citizens. So, all politics is local, and all of this stuff trickles down to the local level, right? Well, we've just had changes here in the city of Conyers with a new mayor, new city council shaping up. So that's going to be impactful to this county because we only have one municipality in this county. So that's what's going on, right? So it's going to be very interesting. So I'm like I said, I think this is all going to be impactful, and it is going to impact Rockdale County. So you want to know about what candidates feel about it, right? So your federal candidates, we don't really want their opinion about it. They can't do anything about it. So we would want the opinion of somebody running for governor because they could actually veto a local legislation. We do have that. Well, Kelly, I just mentioned a couple of things. I mean, I mentioned the state income tax. I mentioned property taxes. Property taxes is the biggest issue that county residents face, and those state legislators are the ones that control how property taxes are levied. It's not decided on the local level. We had an anomaly this year. School board. I talk a little bit about the school board. I don't talk a lot about the school board on the show because I'm going to keep myself out of trouble. But I do talk about big issues, talk about things we're doing. After the first of the year, I think we will put some things out that we're looking at doing on the school board, and then at that point, I can talk about those things. But when you look at the past year, I can give a rundown of what we do. We've replaced the school superintendent. We passed HB 581. We did not opt out of that. We banned cell phones in Rockdale County schools, K through 8, which was a year ahead of time. We're most likely going to do a form of phone ban from 9 to 12 this coming school year. So, we've initiated several different programs in the county, in the Board of Education. So it's been a very productive and a very changing year for the Board of Commission. Now, Board of Education. Now let me say, I say these things, and I say these are my opinion as an individual board member, not as for the whole board or the district himself. I'm only speaking on my behalf and my opinion. I've got to give that disclaimer as to not get myself in trouble. That's the way we now. This illusion of the school board costing us more than everybody else. That's an illusion, right? So the school board has the general funding they get, and they've got the SPLOST funds. The Board of Commission has the general funding, the SPLOST funds, and the host dollars. They have the Rockdale County Water and Sewer Authority funds. They have the monies that they collect for the runoff. Forget what you call that, which is taxed through the thing. So this narrative that the majority of your money is spent through the school board, that was a narrative that the previous administration throw you off the track of the wasteful spending that they were doing with all the millions that they had in their coffers. So when you take the host revenue, which gives you a credit, add it to the amount that you're taxed, it comes up almost dollar for dollar of what you're being taxed by the schools board, the Rockdale County School Board. That now, and like I said, and we don't have host, and we don't have stormwater, and we don't have RWR. It's an illusion, Kelly, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. I just explained how it's an illusion. If you don't want to accept it, not my issue, your issue. That's, when you look at your tax dollars, your tax bill, what you are assessed in property taxes, and then your host bill, what you get your credit for, it adds up almost dollar to dollar for where you're being. Then the Board of Education does not get host dollars. They do not get stormwater money, and they do not get money from RWR. So, Catherine Lind, correct. It's 50-50. It is right at a 50-50 take when you take and add the host monies in. But that doesn't account for the other monies. Now, we both have a SPLOST, so you add that. So that's, again, net zero. But the Board of Education doesn't have host. We don't have stormwater, and we don't have RWR. So the majority of your money are not being spent by the Board of Education. They're being spent by the Board of Commission. And that's the reality of it. Just being frank with you guys, just being transparent about where the breakdown of the money is. So that's the reality, right? That's the reality. The county has far more revenue and more access to revenue than the Board of Education does. But you don't want to hear that. You want to hear that 80-20 nonsense that the previous administration used to spout, which was not accurate. You just got the accurate breakdown. Whether you want to accept it or not, that's on you, not on me. So that's how the cookie crumbles and how reality hits. Now I'm gonna tell you, me being blunt the way I am, you know what? Might I lose some votes by being blunt and saying things the way I do? Might do it, right? But I think that's one of the reasons a lot of you guys voted for me, is because of my bluntness and my ability just to say what I feel and say it the way it is sometimes, because sometimes that's just what needs to be said. It just needs to be said the way it needs to be said. Yeah, and don't even and then the poor city residents, right? So so they pay all the other stuff I just mentioned, and they pay city taxes, right? So, you know, uh, yeah, Denise, rather you be blunt than lie to us. Thank you. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna get myself in trouble any day of the week rather than than do that. And I do. I get myself in trouble quite often, but that's okay. It's fine. Um, you know, the podcast, right? I was actually told when I ran for office, if you get elected, you don't need to do the podcast. You need to immediately stop doing the podcast, whatever, all this, whatever. No, the podcast, in my opinion, is as important as the job I do on the Board of Education, right? It is as important. Of course, plus the trash, right? So I'm just telling you guys, it is just important. Everything that we do is important. The people that spoke their mind and helped change. And I ran. Okay, Kelly, I'll address this. I ran on seniors not doing the load, and I did what I could do to make sure of that by making sure we stood by and did not opt out of HB 581, which froze property tax values, which we are one of the few counties in the state of Georgia that all that the whole the county, the cities, and the BOE all stayed in 5A. We're only one of a half a dozen Board of Educations who stayed in and froze property tax values by not opting out of 581. Uh, I've also attended town halls and been asked this very thing about senior citizens. And this is what I have said that I believe that seniors that are in poverty and seniors who are unable to pay taxes because of income restraints should be opted out, right? And that's not up to me or the Board of Education to do. That's up for the state legislature to do. And our local delegation knows that I support them if they would introduce legislation that would enact a means test for seniors that were in poverty and at certain income levels to not pay taxes. Now, I'm not talking about not paying taxes just for the Board of Education. I'm talking about seniors that are in poverty not paying property taxes, right? Not just Board of Education, not paying city taxes, property taxes, and not paying for county property tax. I'm talking about a true senior property exemption, which is really what you need to see to actually help. Because what good does it do if we just opt them out of Board of Education and they still have to pay city and county taxes? That still gets them to their homes being auctioned off at the courthouse steps. So my thought is seniors who come to a certain financial threshold, certain income, should be opted out of paying taxes because it's not feasible that they continue uh, doing that, right? So, and when you're talking about education taxes, that's what I'm talking about. Also, I'm talking about the property taxes, which are education taxes, right? And then when we get our money coming back from the state, that's from all state income tax, sales tax, whatever, and they do their formula and throw some monies back in and everything. But just to be honest with you, that's less and less money that's coming back from the state and to the counties because the counties are beginning to have to bear more and more of the burden of financing their own budgets. Uh, so that's Luca Russo, and Ben said several take on vehicles they were taken from several employees. So that's what I'm getting at, right? So we just got to realize that they say Rome wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't destroyed in a day either, right? It took years to build it, and then years for it to decline, right? So, and it's going to take a little time for change to occur here also. But you guys still need to. Yeah, Clayton, yeah, I agree. Seniors service, and that's why it should be at a means test, and it should be only for those who are in financial dire, who cannot afford it. When you look at their income and they're in the poverty, uh, you know, they can't even buy food, more or less pay property taxes. That's what I'm talking about. So, um, and if you're a senior and you've had a good income and you make a good living and you can still afford to help fund the government, fund the government is you. Like, this is the thing I love to hear too in this county, right? So I'll go out and people will talk about all these things they want us to do. We want these additional services. We want free garbage service. We want sidewalks. We want just everything in the world, right? And but then when you say, okay, well, it's cost stuff, how are we going to do it? Well, you can't raise my taxes, but you still got to provide all this stuff. The two go hand in hand, guys. You can't demand for services and amenities and then not provide a way to pay for it. So we all have to think about that, right? Wants, not needs, right? Wants, not needs. So thanks, Charlotte. But yeah, that's what we have to look at, guys. We just have to look at, what do we actually need versus what do we want? And what are we willing to pay for? And what are you willing to, what taxes are you willing to pay to get the things you want or the things you need? Bucky's, if that comes to reality, that's going to bring in a lot of money. And what we have to do at that point is just make sure we don't go on a spending spree and we use that money to bail ourselves out of debt. That's what we have to do, right? We have to make sure we don't use that money and make sure we use it to not go out of that. So that's that. Well, let me say, oh man, it's 8:40, and I promised only 30 minutes, and we went 40, and we've got a nice audience, and there's people on here. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to get off because I did not intend on staying as long as I did, but we are going to leave for the evening. I thank each and every one of you for joining me tonight, and I thank you for coming on, and we will continue the conversation on another show. I will advertise next week with Emmanuel Jones coming on, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do that. Kelly, I will answer one thing additional. We're going to do. We're going to be providing a magnet school for 4 through 8. Right now, the magnet school is 9 through 12. So we are going to have a magnet school 4 through 8 starting next year. Then there are several things that we have done with some AI initiatives and some different reading and math programs that we had initiated this year in the system. So there are things that we have done, and we did cut back on personnel this year too. And when you look at the increase and what happened with it, that was also unfunded mandates from healthcare and retirement that we were forced to pick up that the state stopped picking up. So it is a complicated situation, and then I'm going to get off now. Like I promised, we will be advertising next week's show. Thank you. Good night, everyone. And I will see you next Sunday with my special guest, State Senator Emmanuel Jones, running for congressional seat 13. Thank you and good night.